Hi everybody, it's Colin here from Woodthorp International. So what did I do wrong? Well, I said the idea is to do everything from above any of the layouts, even the one underneath, without having to go underneath the board. And I'd made a mistake. Due to me not thinking about this area, but I started over here. I can reach those very easily from the trunking, because what you have to do from each point is fully isolated. It's not just the frog. You isolate everything from each block. So that's a block. That is a block, but it doesn't have a block marker on. It just has a feedback. So when a train hits it, it tells you there's a train on it, and when it goes off it, and then it'd be on this one, and then when it goes onto the block, this next one, that is a block, and it'll give you more detail of the train on the screen. But because I started off with near ones, and I don't mean these, but this is an example, I can take the wire down from behind the timber, pull them down into the trunking, and take a wire back to feed the frog. And of the frog hangs down long enough to get to where point motor is. So because I did these near ones first, it was easy. I thought, yep, cracked it. I cut this in, drop them down, bring the wires up, connect it all up. Yep. So when I come round here, getting giddy that I'm nearly going to have a station, I stuck my track down with two wires coming from the point. That's where I don't look at this one as an example, but I cut that segment out, and that just gives that a little bit of freedom, and I can still get the insulated joiner on there. This is from the old layout. And I connect my blue and green to them, hang them down, and then I just get hold of them. And in this case, I can't reach. I just get my helping hand and grab it and pull it to the front into the trunking. Everybody's happy. I haven't had to kneel down. And then I come to put the point motors in, and I thought, oh, I need to power the polarity with those. Now the frog was already near the point, but again, here I could just push the frog wire back up. There I can't reach. So the mistake is I hadn't thought about those points over there. And the same with them. So I've had to come up with a way of making those work, and the only way I could do it, because what I didn't want to do was power the blocks from the point over here, and then somewhere within that wire cut it and take a wire all the way back to the motor, because I've got that many, it's going to use a lot more wire, and I've got to look little bits all help save. So what I did was I got some of these, cut the wire near the point, which I'll show you, put that in to one of them, That then continued to get power to all of these, and why this one's a 3, I had to then have a say if there was a blue in, blue out to feed it, then a blue would go to that, and the other one, because those little points there, bits of track there, I don't do them as a separate, I add it onto the point. So that and that are wired together. So I needed another actual power supply to feed that all at the same time. Now, because it all goes to the same block. Now, for the others, I just use a 2. So it came down from the point into one of them. That would then go to the block unit, and it would then feed the point motor. So what I had to do was get on my hands and knees. I've still got one point motor to do over there, and put them underneath and put them in. Now, as it turns out, I could get in because the Japan layout wasn't here, but if Japan was here, it would have been a right royal pain in the backside. So that is where I went wrong. I did think of sending Gemma underneath, but that didn't seem fair. But she would have done it. And then they're just clipped in and everything works great, as you've seen in the previous video. But I couldn't be doing that on this layout, Japan or England, because that is even lower, and I'd be on my back pushing myself under, and I still have to get on my knees to get stood up. So that wasn't going to work, and this is why I've come up with a plan, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to get over that. I can't do anything about them over there. All of them are done. Even though that one doesn't have a point motor in yet, the wires are hanging down, so I'm going to have to just do it that way. But I've learnt my lesson. But I don't mind admitting to it. If I'd done those first, I would have twigged. I would have come up with this solution straight away. But because I did the easy ones, or I wanted to start here so I could use my bridge and have a train running over it because I was just so excited and stuff like that. And then another thing I've got to show you is I've had an idea about the trees for that mountain. So what I've done with the point is usually, or what I did to start with, was put one blue, one green to the point, drill a hole, push it through, and then, as I've explained, because they were near to the front, I then just went back to the motor. But as I've already said, and what I've had to do with the ones, I just did the same. So what I've done now is I've put two wires together and then attached it to the track, and I've drilled 2 holes going straight down to take the wires what will hang down, and I just drag it to the front to supply the point, which will then supply by going off at an angle. And I've just put a drill hole, and you don't need to have the drill turning, you can just push the drill through into the well of this. To do that hole, I use one of these. You don't need it in a drill, because if you have that, it will put a hole in the middle. So all I do is I just push it in by hand. I'm not going to do it there, but I just push it in, turn it a bit, keep going all the way down, and then pull it out. And just the last bit, because that is thick enough, but not thick enough with the thread what's down there and the thickness of the top to go all the way through, and then I'll just go down with the knife and just go to get it right through to the bottom. Now there will be an odd bit where I'm going to be unlucky and the insulation is stuck down to the board. It won't come off that, so I might have to cut that out and just drill one out of a spare piece of boards, some out of this or whatever. But like, it's just one of them things. I can't do that about it. I had to stick it down. I couldn't have it loose, but it's not stuck down everywhere. I just squirted some stick all on in places, and then that was okay. It's enough. And then there's a frog wire being attached. My frogs are yellow, and again I've pushed the drill bit through, and then all I do is I push this down, put it into place, and all I'm going to do for this demonstration of how I'm going to do everything in the future, even the close ones, I'm going to still do it the same. I'll just put that in there, and I would glue that down. Now, what I could have done is unstick them and put the wire on, but I'd tested everything and they were working. So there was just no point me risking pulling them up, putting the wire on, and that's what I've had to do underneath to stop that, so I didn't have to pull them up. So I'll now put the motor in, and I'll show you these wires going to the motor. It's not going to have the switch wire in because they come out of the hole, which I'll show you. Right, as you may know, I use this MP1 version 2 motor. It will go underneath, but as you know, I don't want to do anything underneath unless I make a mistake. So I just cut a slot to put them in, as you know, like that over there. But I've heard people say they've gone off the MP1s onto bigger ones because the holes are very big. Now, regardless of that, I'm still putting these little plugs in, and the plugs will not go in without squashing the end, just to make them a bit thinner. And it's still worth it for me because then there's no strands of wire accidentally when you're pushing into the hole down here, one doesn't stray into the other, because if it does, it's going to not work. Now, when you crush them, certainly with this crusher onto the wire, you put it around that, it marks it. And I've now found out that cutting it on that second one is the right length, so that bit goes all the way in to here, and then there's no cross wires or anything like that. So all I do is I just cut it on the second mark. That one I've cut, sorry, it's not focusing. That one I've cut, and all I do is I've just got these, and if I can do it on the camera in one hand, because my other hand's holding the camera, all I then do is just crush it like that, and it just makes it a bit thinner to go into there, and it does go in. I will put the camera down and put one in. Now, what you do, I don't know if you can see this here. This one, which is that, takes your frog wire, and the other two go in there. And then that is like the switch, and it just moves onto one side or the other. These three are to come from my low D operator, which when I click the screen or iTrain decides to change the point, it goes down this information and turns the point and turns this polarity switch. So I'll just put these in. Now I've crushed that, I'll put them in and show you. And I'll explain the next stage. So that's them in, and that's what I'm getting at, that they're just so safe for no stray wires. Now the bigger ones, this green bit, there's a separate piece and you can do it separate. But for me, you know, these work. There's a little bit of money, they're cheaper, but not by much. And I don't need any more power to move 3mm across with the arm. So they're gonna work. Took the advice of James and Andreas with the Lodi, who made the Lodi equipment, and they said they'll work fine. Andreas on his layout, he uses them, so they must be right. So what I do then is put it into the hole. But one of the things for doing this hole, because the wire's going to be spare in there, and I won't fill it back up with cutting a bit of that off and pushing it down until I've got everything working. Now, I cannot do anything about in 3 years' time the point motor failing or the point or whatever. I just can't do out about that. It's just one of them things. But like in the real world, I'll just dig the area up to get to what I'm doing. Need to repair, replace. I won't have to go underneath to do it because everything's going to be from the top, like it should have been when I first did them over those over there and the ones at the other end of the station. But that's where I went wrong. So I'll put it into the hole to show you. So once I push this down into the hole, what I do is I get some 2-inch staples, and I put 4 in, but I'm only putting 2 here. And then I just push them, if I can do it all with one hand, into the foam. And then I put another 2 in, and if I just turn it around, you might see it going in there. And I just put another one in a bit lower down at a different angle, and then it don't move at all. And I can pull them out and change it. And it doesn't matter when I make the arm, if I don't make the arm exactly the right place, what you do is you just undo these, and this bit, as you can see, slides along, so I can put it to the right place for the arm to go. Because in here, if I just show you, that's enough. Yeah, that's enough. There's 2 slots, and I go in the thinner one, and there's a thicker one if you want to use a thicker wire, maybe for O gauge. But I use this thinner one, and it traps it in, and it's thin enough so it can go on an angle, and as it moves, it can actually maneuver in that. If it was solid, as it pulls back, the arm would try and it wouldn't flex the same. So that's how I do it. And then once I know that's in the right place, naturally I would hold it with my other hand. I wouldn't be doing it one-handed and holding a camera, but then that's then in the right place, is that? And then when the motor moves, it would go that way and pull the point as it goes. And I take the spring out of the points, but I don't do that until after, because at least while I'm just running like all these over here, just excuse the mess, I can still run trains over because the point arms stay over in the right place. So I can still run trains without any motors in, because our power goes down to this and connects to that anyway, and if they're insulated it doesn't matter. So that then allows me, with this spare wire what's in here, to pull the motor out to get to those screws. Now on those I'll just have to I've left enough wire for it to maneuver and just hang underneath without it being hanging down too much. What I may do is I usually bring the wires up down there on the side of where the green is to connect all the wires in. Well, I might even bring the switch in from the loading operator into this bigger hole, and then there can be spare, because that's the other reason for using, if I just show you on this over here, these, where I just push them off and it can go up there and slacken the wires off. But I won't need to do that now, but I'll still use these, because if I ever need to do any work on these and I don't want to do it in the shed, I can just unclip everything and take the whole board away. That was the idea for doing it. So, as I say, I might bring those other 3 cables up there and then push them through at a higher height and have a bit of slack in that. And then all I'll do is cut some of that off to plug the hole, and I'll just put something round the gap. And then if I ever need to get to it, I know they're next to each other. And yes, and the other thing is, if you actually get the polarity wrong, you can check it before you push this into there by altering that and watch the direction. So if that's at this side, the point should be over there. And if the polarity is wrong, it'll short. So while it's out, you can change the green and blue over. It's like the orange and purple, what does the switch. If it's not the right way around, I can just change it on there. I've just put a bit of blue tack in. I've cut the bottom off. So that goes in there, and underneath, even though there'll be a solid board underneath, there's space for the wires to manoeuvre about in. So I shouldn't have to dig that bit out. It's only that I would have to dig out if there's a fault. So that should be okay. I'll have to come up with something to put round there. I mean, blue tack's okay. It could be a bit of filler. So this is one of the spruce trees, what we've made, and we've put the branches all the way down to near the bottom. But I had a thought for this hill. Just have to excuse what I ain't done it all, but I want to make it look dense. And making it look dense, you're not going to see from there down. So what I'm thinking of doing, and we've made a little short one, only with 5 on. But what it'll mean is, because they haven't got the long branches on at the bottom, I'll be able to get it in closer to make it look more dense. Where if it's got long branches on at the bottom, they're fighting and giving a bigger space. But I'm trying to give it that idea of a more denser forest. That's them in with 2 trees what are fully done to the bottom on the left hand side, and that's the 4 with just the stems on. And looking at it on those, we could even do even less. Instead of doing 5, we could maybe get 3. And then as it comes down, I might be able to just stick with 3 coming down here. But I don't know yet. One's going to have a look at that as we go on. We might do some with just 3 on instead of 5. But no, that is definitely going to be a time saver and a wastage saver, because there's no point having it full right to the bottom if you can't see them. So the 2 facing us, closest to us, have branches all the way down, and then there's the 4 behind. And that is going to work absolutely superb. And even there, you can't see them because I've put 2 on that edge. Now I know these full ones will come down to about here, and then all those blank ones will be up there. That plan is definitely going to work. Absolutely superb. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Bye for now. Bye.